This is the time of year when farmers and ranchers are receiving valuation notices on agricultural lands. Some producers may have been surprised to see higher valuations on grasslands and CRP acres, which resulted from a change in state law to change the classification of soil types. Nebraska Farm Bureau sat down with State Property Tax Administrator Ruth Sorensen, who heads the Property Assessment Division, to talk about the issue and what producers can do.
First off, can you provide us a brief summary of the intent and the changes that were included in LB 372?
Sure. LB 372 was passed last year in 2019 session, and it became effective August 31st of 2019. And so we had until about January 1st to get the changes made and implemented into the county assessors. What LB 372 did was change a statute, which is 77-1363, and it added that the land capability groups that we use as inventory in the counties shall be by Natural Resources Conservation Service specific to the applied use and not all based on dry land. Prior to that amendment, our practice was to establish we call them LCGs, land capability groups, structure based on the dry land criteria only. So beginning now in this 2020 assessment year, the LCGs were developed utilizing that NRCS data, Natural Resource Conservation Service data, specific to each land use. And the intent was to utilize capability data that was best suited for each of those major types of agricultural land, irrigated, dry land, and grassland. That was the intent.
Okay, so can you tell us what type of guidance you've provided to the county assessors after this change?
Sure, absolutely. Immediately, well, prior to it becoming effective, in every August, the county assessors have what they call is assessors workshop. So we did a presentation there in August prior to the implementation, indicating we're working on it. This is what we're seeing so far. And we asked for some test counties. We gave that presentation. We gave another one in December. In between, in October, I sent out an instructive email. And then we requested analytical spreadsheets from the assessors, and we assisted them in analyzing the impact of this conversion. The county assessors were encouraged to adjust their value structure to avoid increases to agricultural land, because in the current market, as you're aware, for the majority of the state, the market is flat to declining.
All right, thank you. So then, did the Department of Revenue believe when this bill was passed that some folks would see an overall valuations go up or possibly pay more in their property taxes?
I would say no. It was not expected to see significant increases to the overall valuations, because we worked with them to ensure that the valuation stayed at market. If there were market considerations to be involved, that may have changed the overall values in some areas. It should not have been based solely on this conversion. There is not a mandated valuation formula that we use. It's just known that the conversion would move some ag land to a higher classification. However, as I indicated, the expectation in our instruction was that adjustments would be made to ensure that the value of the soils were brought back down, as the soils did not change. The soil was the soil, and the soil didn't change.
Okay, so safe to say the formula, you just had that expectation that you wouldn't see those property taxes go up or valuations go up just based on that formula.
We did not want to see that happen.
So
the only changes that we should have seen in 2020 would be based on what the market was reflecting.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. So if folks are seeing their valuations go up, are you working with the local officials to kind of address those issues? Or are you advising folks to go through that valuation protest process?
It's a combination of both. Property owners should protest if they believe their values are not at 75% of market value. We don't want them to miss out on their due process rights. And we are working with some of the local county officials. It's not all the counties. In reviewing what we have so far, and we'll get to those percentages, there's about 50 counties that we don't see that we need to be working with so far, and we still have a number to look through. However, we're working with them to recommend that they make corrective adjustments to those areas where we see an increase. In addition to these efforts, property owners should file that protest by June 30th, 2020, not relying on an adjustment to be made. Because again, we want them to receive due process. If there's adjustments and they get a different valuation notice, that first protest could be dismissed. And then they would have a new 30 days if they get a new valuation notice.
Okay, that's good. That's good to point out, just to make sure that folks are still going through that protest process. But yeah, some changes could come, and it'll just kind of change those deadlines or change the system a little bit when it comes to the protest part of it.
Yes, for sure.
Are you expecting or are you seeing any further legislative changes necessary to provide clarity in this process? Do you think that that's something that's needed?
We're not aware of any legislative changes being necessary. Implementing the soil conversion was difficult because all individual parcel values had to be reviewed in the first year. And we at the department do not get those individual parcel values. That's all at the county level. Values should have been established, as I said, to reflect the market-only changes. We will continue to assist the county assessors with their valuation methods and to make sure and to make those suggestions that I indicated to correct the classification structure if better information becomes available. So I'm not seeing that that would entail a legislative change.
Okay. So what do you suspect the scope to be of the cases where folks could see an increase in valuation? Are there areas of the state that are seeing that increase where other areas maybe aren't? And could that increase be significant, or would it be significant?
Again, we should not be seeing significant increases just based on this LCG conversion. We have requested all the individual parcel data from all 93 counties, and we have received all of those. For about 25% of the values of the parcel of agricultural land across the state that increased, approximately only 6% of those parcels appear to have that more significant increase that we're working on. It's across the state. It's not one area over the other. It's important to note, again, that not all of these changes are attributable to this LCG conversion. Some will include land use changes because I know, for instance, there's a county that is updating their mapping and getting new land use data that may change. Parcel boundaries may change with that new mapping, and other physical land changes may be discovered by the county assessors as they do the review. So those are some examples of what may impact the values as well.
Okay. And then another question, what steps have you taken to ensure the changes required by LB 372 will be uniformly administered in all 93 counties?
What we did, as we educated in August, and then emails in October, and then in December, is in those instructions, we asked all the 93 county assessors to submit a summary report to us by January 1st, 2020, so that we can ensure that the technical requirements of that LCG conversion were completed as required. Valuation decisions were then made by March 19th, 2020 by the county assessor. And again, as I indicated, we don't receive that valuation data on a per parcel basis for statewide equalization. It's an overall county review. We are currently, again, reviewing all that parcel data that was requested and working with the county assessors to suggest those corrective measures to the values that significantly increased. Again, we couldn't look at parcel by parcel. We encourage the assessors to be doing that as well. So now we're doing that process for them.
Okay. And just curious, do you have like a timeline in mind for kind of some of these reviews, or some of this process that you're working through as this became implemented? Is there?
Well, we have talked to 5 today. There will be 6 counties, and what we do have a deadline for the assessor to submit an overvalued report to the County Board of Equalization, and that would be July 24th this year. It's the July 25th, but that lands on a Saturday, so we have to back that up to Friday the 24th. So we are working very diligently to get this data to the assessors now so that they can get to their, because some county boards only meet once a month in the smaller counties. And so we want to get that data to the assessors so they can get in front of their boards.
Sorensen advises that if producers have questions related to these changes, you should contact your local assessor. And all property valuation protests must be made through the normal protest process with the June 30th deadline. Nebraska Farm Bureau has a guide to help you through that process. Just log in on our website, nefb.org.